And we are live. Welcome, gentlemen. So it's another stream with me, Troy Francis. And today I want to talk about where to meet a high quality girl. And the reason I want to address this particular topic is basically because I keep seeing a lot of posts recently where guys are kind of like, there's this idea. Hang on, sorry about that. Yeah, there's this feeling, there's this idea that in order to meet a high quality woman, and what I mean by that in this context, in the context of this talk, is basically a very attractive woman. There is this feeling out there that you need to infiltrate the very highest echelons of society in order to do that. And my contention today, the case that I'm arguing today, is that actually you don't. And I'm going to explain why that is as we go along. But first off, let's just have a little think about the sort of milieu that I'm talking about, the sort of environment that I'm talking about, right? So a lot of guys will come to this space and, you know, they're guys, they want to improve their dating lives, and they will want to meet the most attractive girls that they can. Okay, so who are the most attractive girls? Well, generally speaking, we would imagine them to be models, to be girls who are sort of in high society, to be girls who have reached a sort of upper echelon in terms of the sphere, the social sphere, if you like. And unsurprisingly, many guys will think, well, in order to get access to those particular girls, I'm going to have to find a way to enter high society myself. You know, I am going to have to either become very rich, or I'm going to have to, gain enormous status so that I can, just get to meet these girls in the first place and then have any kind of hope of building a relationship or anything else with them, right? So, and all of that makes sense. I mean, all of that is sound. And listen, I'm not going to make any claim that being in high society or that bettering yourself is not a good thing to do. Okay, because clearly it is. All right. I mean, the better that you can do for yourself in terms of your career, in terms of your money, in terms of your whatever else, you should do that, right? For sure. But you should do that primarily for yourself. You shouldn't do that because you are hoping to meet, these high quality girls. Rafi's talking about the church. I'm not actually, so just to be clear, right? The title for this episode is a little bit watered down. Because I didn't want to get into any trouble. But what I'm talking about here really is attractive girls, is the most attractive girls. I'm not necessarily talking about high quality women in the sense that the trads mean it. I'm basically talking about the most beautiful girls. How do you meet them and how do you form relationships with them and start dating them? Okay, so as I say, guys will assume that in order to do this, you need to enter the upper echelons of society, and as I say, I don't believe that to be the case. Now, recently, I've been listening to the podcast by the Instagram blogger, or whatever you call the Instagrammer, Super Slutty Snake. So, if you go onto Instagram, check out the account Super Slutty Snake. He runs a very entertaining Instagram page where he basically satirizes high society. He creates memes that joke about the kinds of wealthy and well-connected people who go to Dubai, to places like all the international party places, like so Tulum in Mexico in the winter, Ibiza in the summer. Where's the other place he goes to in the summer? I don't know, places like Saint-Tropez, all of that kind of stuff. London, New York, Paris, the big fashion capitals plus the big party places. And Super Slutty Snake, as I say, runs this very, very amusing Instagram page where he will ridicule these people and have a lot of fun with them. And the Super Slutty Snake Instagram account now has something like, I think he's about 100,000 subscribers, so it's a pretty big account. And there are celebrities who follow him and so on and so forth. So, you know, he's got people like Tyler, the Creator, commenting on his posts. He's got famous sports stars. He's got big brands like Joe and the Juice coming in and dropping comments on his posts and things like that. So, you know, he's gained traction because what he does very well is creates these very funny like memes about this high society party scene, this kind of international party scene. And he also writes really good text underneath the posts. And this is something that I actually really admire. I think his writing is very good. And it's really cool that he creates this text underneath each of the posts. It really brings to life his personifications of these crazy characters that he meets. And he's talking about billionaires, millionaires, models, people who spend all summer on yachts, partying, etc., etc., etc. The high life, high society. Okay. Now, within the manosphere as well, there are people who believe, and there are people who will encourage the belief that the only way to meet the kinds of girls who are part and parcel of that scene is part of that scene yourself. Okay, the only way that you can infiltrate that scene is to basically enter into it, make a lot of money, become a world famous rapper or sports person or YouTuber, and yeah, you know, infiltrate that scene, and then you might have a chance of meeting those particular kinds of girls. But is that really true? Well, first off, what we need to do is to have a think about who these girls actually are. And Super Slutty Snake says, quite rightly, that it's very easy for an attractive woman to enter into high society, because all the attractive woman really needs to do is to be attractive, and then she's likely to attract invitations to go to the right parties, to go to the right nightclubs, to appear, you know, to go to the right islands in the summer, to be at the right parties, etc., etc., etc. It's not that difficult for an attractive girl to enter the scene. For a guy, though, it's different. A guy, and this is just the reality of the dating marketplace. It's just the reality of how things go down. A guy is going to have something more about him if he wants to enter that scene. You know, he's going to have to come from money, or he's going to have to be famous, or he's going to, and even if he's made a lot of money, is he nouveau riche, or is he really part of the scene? Is he a social climber? Okay, so guys often have to withstand a lot of scrutiny to get through to the highest echelons of society. And by this society, I'm talking about this international party circuit, you know, Miami, Ibiza, London, Paris, Milan, blah, blah, blah. And so to infiltrate the right circles within those locations as well. Yeah, a guy has to kind of do a little bit more. A guy has to prove his mettle in order to get into those to the right scene in those locations. But a girl, an attractive woman, kind of doesn't really. And I'm not being down on women or anything by saying that. That's just kind of the reality of how the sexual marketplace works. You know, women are, and I'm not saying this is right, but women are often valued for the way that they look, principally, particularly in these scenes where it's all a little bit shallow. And Yeah, I mean that is just kind of like the way things go, right? So you have to, you have to just accept that that's how it is. So basically, anyway, right? So when you think about the kinds of women who are in these social scenes, who are they? Well, as I said, a lot of them are models. You will and models is split up between you've got your actual models, your catwalk models or your photographic editorial models who have agents and are actually affiliated with an agency and actually go and earn their money from doing high profile jobs. Then you get a load of probably like Instagram model type girls who are not officially within the industry, but they kind of fall within it. You probably get some lower ranking pop singers and entertainers and things within that bracket as well. And then you get the hangers-on, you get the friends of these girls, okay? So you've got the beautiful model, but she's also got her friends, and the friends may be a point or so less beautiful than the model, but nevertheless, they're really hot. Is it the All Saints one, John? So yeah, this is what the scene is composed of. But the point that I'm making is that these girls actually can be relatively ordinary girls who've been thrust into an extraordinary scene. Well, how do we know that? Well, if you look at where a lot of the top models come from, a lot of them come from Eastern Europe, and a lot of them come from Russia. And it's not necessarily Moscow, it's not necessarily St. Petersburg, it's not necessarily the high-class districts. These girls can come from, small places, small little villages, bumfuck nowhere, as they say, okay? It doesn't really matter, right? They're beautiful. And so they are plucked from obscurity and they're taken to these party epicenters around the globe, okay? And nobody questions it because her value, what she's bringing literally to the party, is her beauty. It's how great that she looks, okay? So that being the case, as much as people would have you believe that the only place that you can meet these women, the only place that you can go to in order to meet, date, and attract these so-called top-tier girls is in, the very highest echelons of society. And in order to get there, you need to yourself become high society, is not necessarily true. And this is why you get so many guys who are into day game and so on and so forth, who go over to Eastern Europe, who go over to Russia, who go to Moscow, St. Petersburg, and some of the smaller cities in Russia, because this is where all of those top tier girls are going. Now, excuse me. One of the criticisms that often gets leveled against day game in particular is that, there's no point doing that because you're just it's low rents and you're running around the shopping mall and you're just meeting these girls who are low tier girls. You're not meeting the real high tier girls because they're all at the party in Saint-Tropez. But actually that's not true, is it? Because where did these girls come from in the first place? They weren't just born in Saint-Tropez for the most part. They came from small villages in Russia. They came from Estonia. They came from the Czech Republic. They came from Lithuania. Exactly. All these different places. And so to say that the only way that you can meet them is when you go to the New York Fashion Week and you've got to have your invite and you've got to be on the front row, is not the case, okay? And this is where day game really comes into its own, because it's just a fallacy to claim that these women don't go anywhere else other than these parties with Leonardo DiCaprio and then that's it, okay? It's absolutely not the case. They go shopping like everybody else. they go to the sandwich store, they go to Starbucks, they go to the post office, they go to the chemist or whatever. Chemist. They're out and about. They're in different locations, okay? And particularly where they're actually from. There's this old saying, go to the source, right? Well, if the source is Eastern Europe, if the source is Russia, you go there, you are not going to have a problem in terms of meeting these people, right? And actually, in many ways, it's better to meet them there than it is to meet them in the high value party. And I'll tell you why, right? So Super Slutty Snake, which is this guy's nom de plume, he's anonymous, so we don't know his real name or identity. He tells a story in one of his earlier podcasts about how he was at a party, I think it was in the south of France, and Leonardo DiCaprio came in. Now, it turns out that this guy, he's kind of in nodding acquaintance with Leonardo DiCaprio because they're part of that same kind of scene, right? So he sort of knows Leonardo DiCaprio, at least to say hi to, or at least to nod to across the party. But anyway, this guy, who is successful, who reveals that he has in the past owned a Hublot watch, so he's presumably pretty, he's got some cash. He has a very posh, upmarket British accent, so it would seem that he is from, the upper echelons of British society, and he certainly goes to all of these different party places and stuff. So he's in the party, right? And he is on a table with a bunch of girls that he's met, or that him and his friends are with, right? And they're like models, they're like the friends of models, they're like actresses, they're like whatever, like these society party girls, but very, very obviously very beautiful, very high class girls, and he's chilling with them and partying with them and everything else. And then Leo comes into the fray, okay? So they're sitting around the table, they're having the drinks, they're like having a chat, whatever. And Leonardo DiCaprio comes in. And what Super Slutty Snake tells us is when Leonardo DiCaprio comes into the room, it's like a vacuum. It's like this just black hole that sucks all of the available girls out into that vacuum. And there is absolutely nothing you can do about it, regardless of how good looking you might be, or how good your chat is, or how good your game is, or anything else. It doesn't matter, because once Leonardo DiCaprio comes into the room, all the girls get sucked up and he takes them away. And apparently what happened on this particular occasion was that Leo turned up and came over to these guys, Super Slutty Snake and his friends, and said, listen guys, can I come and sit at your table? And they were just like, you're Leonardo DiCaprio, you can do what you like. And he came and sat on the table, and then he chilled out for a while. He was chatting, blah blah blah, and then when he left, all of the girls on the table and all of the girls in the vicinity went with him. Okay, this is a story that Super Slutty Snake tells on his podcast. I forget which number. I think it's number 1 or number 2. Well worth a listen. Anyway, assuming that anecdote is all correct, what does that tell you? Well, what it tells you is that when you go into the upper echelons of society, when you go to a venue where there are very high-powered and rich and influential guys, then you are going to receive a lot of, or rather, you are going to be disadvantaged because you just don't have that value. There's always somebody of high value. Musty One says that shirt ain't gonna help, bruv. Sorry, mate, you're wrong. This shirt absolutely is going to help because it's fucking awesome. So yeah, there's always going to be somebody who's better than you. There's always going to be somebody who is, who's one step up from you in the game. Okay, and that's what happens when you go into these high pressure environments. Now, the dudes who push this, the guys who are like, no, man, you just got to get money, you've just got to get rich, you've just got to become high value. Then those guys are just going to go, well, mate, you've got to continue to self-improve. You've got to just keep working on yourself. You've got to get yourself to that level. But realistically, who's getting themselves to Leonardo DiCaprio level? Is anyone on this chat? Is anybody, in this space going to get themselves to Leo level? I very much doubt it. I don't think that's really possible for most guys. For the vast majority of guys, it's just not going to happen, right? So here's the thing, right? You've got to think about where you are socializing. You've got to think about where you are putting yourself out there. Okay, it's not good enough to just say, well, I'm going to go where there is the highest, fiercest competition, and I'm just going to, self-improve myself to the point whereby, I can slay it anyway. Because Leonardo DiCaprio walks in, and you could be high value, and you are still going to be blown out of the water. All right. So again, this is a great argument for why you should, fundamentally do something else. This is why it's a great argument not actually to enter that scene, or at least not to spend a lot of time trying to enter that scene, trying to enter that high society thing, because even if you do, and even if you do successfully infiltrate the scene, it doesn't mean that you're home and dry. You are just in another hierarchy, and the likelihood is you're going to be very much at the bottom of that hierarchy. Okay, so yeah, this is why daytime approach, and this is why traveling to the source, going to different countries where some of these girls come from, is a really, really good strategy for most guys, because you avoid all of the BS of the top tier social scene. You avoid the sort of Leonardo DiCaprio coming in and sucking all the energy out of the room kind of vibe, and it's just a lot easier. Okay, but the argument that you can't meet these top tier girls, you can't meet these upper echelon girls anywhere outside of these parties is false. Now, there is another side to this which I must address, and it is this. If she does meet you in the mall, if she does meet you in Starbucks or wherever it is, how is she going to receive you, right? If she's at the party with Leonardo DiCaprio at night, and then she's meeting you in Starbucks, what's she going to think of you? Well, I mean, listen, listen, here's the deal, right? You are going to have a much greater chance in that environment, because you don't have to pretend. You don't have to try to live up to the very obvious inequality that's facing you with the other guys who are in that party. So, Leonardo DiCaprio's there, you're blown out of the water. You don't have to do that when you're in Starbucks, all right? And here's the thing, right? I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine about this last week. Women will have relationships and have affairs with all sorts of different guys, okay? Yes, they are drawn to muscles, they are drawn to high value, they're drawn to status, they're drawn to all of these things, of course. But equally, there are plenty of skinny ass kind of waster type guys out there who are unemployed or not gainfully employed, who are kind of just, living on their couch and being very naughty and doing lots of naughty substances and all the rest of it. And those guys are doing very, very, very well indeed. So this is where the whole sort of like fallacy about self-improvement really starts to come apart, because actually when you look at a lot of the guys who are doing extremely well in the dating marketplace, they're not all these like extremely high value kind of Chad types that you might assume they are from from reading Twitter or reading whatever, right? So look, I mean, the thing about self-improvement, okay, is that self-improvement is great. Self-improvement is really, really good. And I believe that you should self-improve. I believe that you should seek to make more money. I believe that you should work out and get into decent shape, lose a bit of weight, etc. I believe that you should dress incredibly well, like me. But I don't believe, and my experience and the experience of friends of mine and clients of mine would indicate that those things in themselves are not the magic thing that's going to attract these top tier girls to you, right? Okay, it's your personality, it's the vibe, it's what you bring to it, it's what you, and God, I hate using this word, but it's the energy that you bring to the interaction. At the same time, you know, why go to a place where the competition is so very clearly stacked against you? There's always going to be somebody, even if you're jacked, even if you've got 6 cars, even if you've got this XYZ, you go to the party, Leo's there, Leonardo DiCaprio's there, you think you're getting a look in, you're not getting a look in, okay? It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how successful you are. It doesn't matter how, you are not Leonardo DiCaprio, okay? If Leonardo DiCaprio is watching this, congratulations, you're at the top of the park. But everybody else, they are not Leo. And so, you know, my point is that you're always going to be competing. There's always going to be somebody who's a step ahead of you in the game, okay? So yes, improve yourself. Yes, try to get better. Try to be better. Try to be the best you can be and all that kind of stuff. But don't assume that just by doing that, it's going to give you that access to these upper echelons, to these high status girls, because it isn't necessarily, certainly not in that environment anyway. If you go to Cannes, if you go to the Cannes Film Festival, yes, you know, you can certainly meet and attract girls there in that environment for sure, but there's going to be a lot of competition. Now, just to open up about my own experience with some of this stuff. I have been connected with the club scene for many, many years. I have been peripherally connected with, you know, the higher echelons of the social scene for a number of years, just through friends, through people I know, through people I've dated, and so on and so forth. So I've been to my fair share of, you know, fancy parties with VIPs there. I've been to my fair share of like private members clubs. I've been to my fair share of like expensive restaurants, kind of exclusive VIP nightclubs, all of this kinds of thing. You know, I've done all of that stuff, and for me, it's complicated because I don't drink anymore, so it's kind of less fun. I don't do drugs anymore, so it's kind of less fun. But it's all right, you know, it's all right. And yes, I've seen a lot of this stuff in action. And, you know, while, yes, 100% you can, as an ordinary guy, go into that environment and you can be attractive to people and you can meet amazing women. It's not necessarily the best environment. So the point of all of this really, it's a bit of a rant, is just to sort of say, look, if you want to meet these top like model type girls and you think in order to do that, I'm just going to work on, you know, getting my big cars and getting my bank sorted, you know, getting my, you know, stacking my cheddar and all that kind of thing, then it's good to do that. But that in itself isn't necessarily the key. What is the key is the ability to approach, the ability to do cold approach, right? Because, you know, like a model is not special, right? I mean, okay, there are some at the top, you know, Giselle or somebody is special, right? Because she's very famous, but she's one of many, okay? You know, most girls who are models are kind of ordinary girls, really. They came out of ordinary backgrounds, sometimes quite poor, quite impoverished backgrounds. and you can meet them out and about. And the guys that they are dating and having relationships with are not film stars all the time, are not, these top tier dudes. Certainly the guys that they sleep with, there is a great array of different people who they will get intimate with, okay? Even though she might end up marrying the most high profile guy that she can get, that's not to say that you can't have fun with her beforehand, because she's just like any other girl. She's an ordinary girl, okay? And the best place to meet these people, as I say, is in ordinary life. It's just out and about. Psychedelic Cyanide says, let go of the seriousness and learn to laugh at yourself, because in the end, you're just not so important. Enjoy the decline. 100%, man. 100%. It's not serious. Have a laugh. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the decadence. Enjoy the decline. And yeah, man, it's all good. I think I'm going to call it to an end in a minute, because it's quite a quick topic today. But if anyone's got any questions or anything, stick them in the chat and we'll go through them. But otherwise, Giselle broke up with Leo because he was too short. Black pill, hype pill proven. Yeah, okay. But she was still with him though, wasn't she? I mean, he was still in there in the first place. I mean, I don't know if that's true. Is that true? I don't know if that's true. Was that really the reason? Was that the only reason? I don't know. I mean, regardless, he still got with her in the first place, which I think for many guys will be the most important thing. So yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Any guys got any further questions or points to make, or you want to slag off my shirt, or? Yes, indeed. Yeah, I think Leo is just he's probably the preeminent sort of seducer of our age, isn't he? And I think he's part of a dying breed, really. I don't think that we will see his like again in the near future. I think he is sort of like he's kind of old school. I mean, I think he's quite politically correct. He's quite outspoken about environmental issues and stuff like that. And I think that plays well for him in the mainstream media, because I think that increasingly the attention on his relationships is going to become more, sort of scrutinizing. And that's a shame, because, people should be allowed to do what they want to do in their lives. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting, really. It's interesting. I mean, I think that, of course, Leo is somebody with great star power, but he's also somebody who is, I believe, to be red pill. He says, you're so vain you couldn't pull an as a checkout girl. That's not correct. And your is spelled with an apostrophe. Tom says, slide your shirt off, bro. I'm assuming, I'm not sure quite in what sense he means that, but thank you, sir. And Ivan says, thanks, Troy, love from Australia. Good to see you, man. Hope you're all good over there. I can't pronounce your name, but he says, I'm already going to be single for the rest of my life. Is that a decision you've made, or is that just is that because you feel that you're not going to be able to meet a woman? I'm not sure. If it's because you are, if it's because you've made that decision, then that's a cool thing. That's all right. How do I get tickets for Rule Zero in October? Drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and we can discuss it offline. Okay, the other thing to bear in mind, don't hate on the animal. It gets girls work by activating their primal instincts. I mean, the thing is, right, I think there might be something in that. I think there is something cool about wearing animalistic stuff. I just like animalistic stuff. I think it's fucking awesome, man. There's a lot of good stuff out, animal print stuff out at the moment. A lot of good snakeskin stuff out. If you look at the designers, if you look at Versace, Gucci, and other people, there's a lot of really good stuff out there at the moment. So yeah, jump on board. What I was going to say was Renegade Dating Domination, which is my collection of essays and articles from the last 5 years about dating, about game, about the dating marketplace, is out now. You can get it. There'll be a link below this video. So jump on board with that. And please also subscribe to the channel, because it really just helps me to get people on board, keep putting out the free content, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, listen, guys, I think I'm going to probably leave it there because it's a bit of a short topic today. But thanks for turning up. Thanks for watching. Any likes and comments you can give me would be very much appreciated. And as I say, if you're on YouTube, please do subscribe to the channel. Fur has kept us warm for centuries. Indeed, it has. Thank you, guys. Okay, well, right, I've got one more question. Cortez. Serious question. Are there actually any high-quality women? Right, so as I said at the beginning of the video, what I'm talking about specifically here is actually attractive women. I'm not talking about high-quality women in the sense that the tradcons talk about it. Okay, I'm just talking about attractive women. So where do you meet? As to your question, yeah, I think there are. I think it's a bit sort of like cynical to say there are no high quality women. I mean, I think that's I don't think that's correct. But certainly, it depends what you want. I mean, it depends what you want, right? I mean, certainly, many guys seem to find that the women they are meeting in the dating market are not to their liking for various reasons, and you know that's up to them. It really depends what you want. It depends. Are you looking for something long term? Are you just looking for a short term thing? Are you looking to get married? You know, what is it that you actually want? So I don't know. I think it's a moot point. We can discuss that another time. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I'll speak to you again very soon. See you later. Bye-bye.